Okay, yeah, all right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the F1 stream back on Sports with Sajarji. And we are back with you for a short and sweet preview of Suzuka that is this weekend at Japan. And yeah, I mean, so we saw last week that, you know, uh, I'm speechless. I'm still speechless that Ferrari won.
I think
Ferrari
there's
won a damn
there's there's kind of been a
yeah,
lull in the F1, F1
yeah.
fraternity at this point. So,
Yeah, I think
I
everybody's still processing Carlos Sainz winning a
yeah,
race, Max Verstappen crashing out of a race. I mean, like, he overtook Max Verstappen, right?
yeah,
Because Max made a rare mistake, and
hmm,
Ferrari somehow had enough DRS to overtake them, right?
yeah,
and then everybody in the race are like, oh, will we see Max overtake? Will we see a pit stop strategy masterclass by Red Bull? And what happens? Max is just out of the race, and then Perez gets stuck behind four cars, five cars. How many was he? Fifth last week?
two McLaren and a Ferrari. So yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
no, I mean before that, oh yeah, he had back markers like the Mercedes and all that. So
right,
yeah,
but Mercedes back markers.
what are they right now? So yeah,
But yeah, so Perez was basically stuck behind four very fast cars, and he couldn't do anything. Right.
yeah,
He came fifth. I mean, we have seen earlier in the season, Perez, he start fifth, but he just stormed through the pack and end up second.
yeah,
Um, he couldn't do that today. He was 8 tenths behind Sainz every lap. Um, and Red Bull basically threw in the towel last week. They're like, oh man, we are done. So
yeah,
it's going to be an interesting weekend if, I mean, it's a fool's errand to discount Max Verstappen.
hmm.
That guy literally walked the season last year, except Singapore. I don't know what you guys are cooking. You guys screwed Lewis and now you're screwing Max. But he basically walked the entire season last year, right?
Yeah.
Except Perez somehow winning two races. I don't know what got into him that time, but yeah. But this year, I already seen something spicy. And what do you think, Aniket? What's going to happen? Are we going to be back to scheduled programming? Are we going to see some Ferrari masterclasses again?
I think that firstly, it'll be good to go back to Suzuka this early in the season. So generally
Oh
we
yeah,
have it towards the end of the season, mostly. I mean every year. So
yeah,
good to go to Japan this early into the calendar year. So the conditions might be different because you're having a race in April as compared to October, November. So the track conditions and all that might be different. So that'll be
right,
interesting to see if will that play into the strengths of one team or the other. And yes, obviously that the fact that Red Bull is out for revenge or vengeance after last race is not to be taken lightly. I remember Max coming out last year after Singapore, and then he had I mean he did not have the best of races there, and then as soon as they moved to Japan, he was like, we're gonna blow the field away, and that's what he
right,
did. So we could probably see a repeat of that where Max did not have a or did not finish in Australia, but then comes back to Japan with a vengeance and just blows the field away. So it could be that, or it could be that we are seeing the beginning of a new chapter in F1 with the rise of Ferrari. That could also be a possibility. So I'm interested to see if Ferrari can maintain their form which they had in Australia, where they were clearly the fastest race car, because Carlos was taking that car to another level in terms of getting close to Max, and then ultimately capitalizing and getting the pass done, and then just breezing away after the Max's DNF. So I'm fully expecting Ferrari to be there again and thereabouts, challenging Max for the victory this time around as well. Considering Suzuka is a track which might favor them this time, and also they have an informed driver in Carlos as well at this point, and Charles is obviously not to be discounted for. So Ferrari
right,
is
yeah,
obviously the team to look out for after Red Bull, and then McLaren will be an interesting bet as well, because last year they had a very good Suzuka, and clearly that track suits their strengths of the car. It's a
yeah,
track similar to Saudi, So
Mhm.
Saudi was clearly a good track for McLaren in that first sector. They just had an advantage so far that the Mercedes behind could not catch them on the faster sector 2 and 3. So McLaren might have a good day on Saturday and Sunday. So I would say
Right.
three teams are in the hunt for Aston Martin and whoever else will be on the lookout for points. I would say at this point, which is interesting change in the F1 pecking order.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And McLaren also has a fresh new livery for Suzuka this weekend. Did you see that?
I
Uh,
think McLaren has had a lot more fresh liveries than any other team over the
yeah,
past few years, right?
yeah, they run a lot of these, also these one-off special liveries. Of course, always a Google logo on the wheels, which still cracks me up 3 years later. Uh, Especially the race when you see that wheel spinning and it's like, oh, Google Chrome spinning. But yeah, oh, the other thing, obviously, we have three teams in the hunt. Funny you didn't mention Mercedes, but I'm not surprised. But
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, before we go back to the teams, have you looked at the weather forecast, Aniket?
Hmm.
We have a forecast for rain on Sunday.
Why is it with Japan that whenever we go to the race, there is always, I mean, forecasted to rain. So it's like, it's crazy, right? I
Yeah,
mean, whether it's in April
we
or
have a
November.
we have a 40 to 50% chance of rain on Sunday for Suzuka in the morning. Uh, it may clear up by afternoon, is what they're saying, by the time the race starts.
Hmm.
But I mean, you never know with rain, right? I mean, once it starts, it can, keep pouring, especially in
Yeah.
Suzuka,
Yep.
where we have seen some horrific incidents in the past. But,
Yeah. I think
but I,
I remember that in
yeah.
2003 we had qualifying and race on the same day on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So it
yeah,
was that
yeah.
bad in 2003, and
Back when
it'll be
F1 was more flexible, I guess.
yeah.
Uh,
So at this rate, I would say if the rain is coming, definitely that's going to make things more spicier. So you
yeah.
might see other teams also get into the hunt, and you might see some uneven grid spots like say Alonso in P3 and like Verstappen probably P7 or something.
Or
I don't know. It could happen.
maybe finally see Alpine get a top five finish, right?
That can also happen at least in qualifying with with if it
Yeah.
rains. So that's going to be a kind of a
Maybe
lucky draw kind of a thing.
Or maybe Hulkenberg gets a pole position out of nowhere.
But yeah, it'll be similar to like Turkey a few years back, where I think what
Right.
Force India was 2 and 3 or 1 and 3. I don't remember. So
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
And also that in Spa when we had just qualifying and one lap, and George
Yeah,
Russell is waiting for like P2.
P2. Yeah. So yeah, right. So rain will obviously be interesting. I mean, whenever in Japan, as you said, the rain is going to play a part in its
Yeah. And
in,
Rain will
some
probably play
capacity
to
or the
Max's
other.
strength. Rain will play to Max's strength because he's been very strong in the rain.
Hmm.
But guess who else is strong in the rain?
Lewis Hamilton.
Yes, but will his car keep up?
But the car is the car is pretty slow. That's the problem. I mean, he can do all his. He can pull it to wherever he can, but if the car doesn't give the performance, then it's a problem. So, uh, obviously, rain is going to help Mercedes. They might at least be more challenging.
Yeah,
With say if the rain comes and in changing conditions, they might be a bit more challenging. So it's going to be interesting to see. Also, let's probably get this team Haas also. Haas is also going to be in the hunt for points because I mean in preseason nobody thought they would be in the top 10 in every race so far, but they've been there. So
yeah,
let's give a shout out to Haas. They're going to be there. They're going to be in the fight. Although they are going to downplay the fact that this is going to be one of the most difficult races of the season so far, but they're going to be there and thereabouts because there's no other team at this point who's on who's
yeah,
at par with them in terms of fighting for points.
yeah. Who else is there? Mercedes?
I mean, Mercedes is going to get the points, but I'm talking about say the lower order. Like Williams is not being
Yeah, yeah.
consistent.
I think if
Sauber is
we
not
take the top,
consistent.
yeah, I think if we take the top five teams out, Haas is probably the best of the rest now, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even if you look at the points table, right?
Hmm.
What you got Haas in seventh, and it just RB in front of them, right?
RB
And then
basically, I don't think you should count them as a team anymore, right? They're just
yeah,
inheriting
it's
the
just
car
Yuki
from the
Tsunoda.
parent team.
Yeah, I mean RB is also just Yuki Tsunoda, right? I mean Danny Ricciardo does
Yeah.
crap.
So
He's not in anything.
speaking of
Uh,
Ricardo, his job is on the line. I mean, if he does not get a good result this race, the
yeah,
pressure is
yeah,
going to increase on him. quite
Yeah,
a
I
bit.
think this race will be very critical for Danny
Plus,
Ricciardo.
he's going up against the home favorite in Yuki Tsunoda. So
Oh
Tsunoda
yeah,
is going to have
Yuki
all
Tsunoda.
the fans with him.
Yeah, the fans are going to roar him on every time they see him
Yeah.
on the track, right? And Yuki Tsunoda has done well at Suzuka in the past as well, right? So,
Hmm.
and he does seem to, he does seem to have matured as a driver this year.
It does look
Uh,
like it.
because RB, he does seem to be out driving that RB, right? Like RB was pathetic in preseason, but
Yep.
they're still getting points. They're sixth in the standings, right? And it's basically been a one man show. Like Danny Ricciardo is not doing anything, right? It's mostly
Hmm.
been Yuki Tsunoda kind of finishing in the points and thereabouts. But yeah, I
Yep.
think with Haas kind of being the best for the rest, if they can, if Kevin Magnussen also chip in, yeah, if you have one retirement in the top 10, you suddenly have, sorry, in the top five teams, you have one retirement or one driver spinning back to 17th in the first turn.
Hmm.
You have Haas suddenly in the fight for the points,
Yep.
and good this time will be very pleased.
I don't know if he's going to come and take the driver interviews again, but
Yeah,
for sure, there's
but
some
yeah,
good things going on.
have you noticed? I seem to be hearing Gunther Steiner's name a lot more now. He's taking driver interviews, he's going on podcasts. Like, what the hell, man? And he wanted to take a break from F1. Really? Is this what this guy counts as taking a break?
Yeah, I mean, if Christian Horner ever gets fired, I would love to see Gunther Steiner in the Red Bull role.
Oh, dude. Gunther Steiner Red Bull. Oh my God.
Uh, That'll be nice.
I'm sure they'll hire more people from other teams than instead of people leaving. Just to hear him fook smash the door.
Yep, exactly.
Oh man, imagine Gunther Steiner with money. Oh my God.
But
He'll be
we
happy to
also heard
contact
Red Bull
uh,
might get
people.
some kind of updates for this race. So
Yeah,
that'll be interesting to see if those updates make them even more stronger than they already are at
right.
this point. So,
Yeah, Red Bull
uh,
is getting updates. Ferrari was very pleased with their simulator testing.
yeah.
Um, I suppose, I mean, McLaren has been doing well. I mean, they said last week we're not far from Ferrari. Their Andy Estella said we're not far from Ferrari.
Correct.
And yeah, all this looking good. What's going on in Mercedes? You're the in-house Mercedes expert. What there is going on there? They suddenly fallen off the map.
Yeah,
You know,
it does seem like
right now we're talking about like McLaren is their customer team. The works team is not doing anything. What the hell is going on?
it does seem like there's a lot of problems, right? It's been like what now it's like the third year of this new
Yeah,
regulations, and they've still not figured out, what their car is capable of, how to design their
yeah,
car, why their rear end is slipping so much, why the drivers don't have enough confidence while getting around 5 speed corners and so on. So they've still not resolved any of those problems. They thought they had a direction last year, towards the end of last year, and coming into the season,
right,
but it's been more of the same. And Lewis is, said last days that this is definitely the worst car he's driven since. I mean, even compared to 2009 car, which was very bad with those new regulations at that point. So
right. Yeah,
a lot of things for them to figure out. It's going to take some time. Lewis again said that it's not going to be something of an easy fix at least this year. So, and since this is his last season, it's going to be a disappointing season. It does seem like that. It does seem like that's going to be the case where Mercedes is going to
yeah,
like just plateau to say a fourth best team this season, unless there's major upgrades which help them fix the car. But in this point early in the season, nothing seems to go their way. So
yeah,
they might, based on the track, they might, get to a spot where they might get a podium. Maybe once every 6 or 7 races. But apart from that, I don't see them challenging for
yeah.
any kind of
The
wins.
top four drivers crash out maybe.
Yeah. So Lewis especially does not feel very, at one with the car. I
Yeah,
think George is still
Lewis
doing somewhat of a
really,
better job. Yeah. So George is
yeah, but also,
still doing somewhat of a better job, but Lewis has just
yeah,
fallen off at this point in terms of this year's car and the performance he's getting out of it.
right. But also something that's been very concerning is that if you look last year, obviously, Mercedes started off, poorly, as you all know. But if you compare, say, it still felt at the beginning of 2023 that they made some progress from 2022, right? It felt they made some progress, and then they rapidly caught up in a couple of races, right? because especially Ferrari was doing jack shit at the beginning of last season. It was all
Yeah.
Red Bull and Aston Martin in the beginning, and
Yeah.
Mercedes caught up. Ferrari was trashed in almost a summer break last year because
Mm-hmm.
after the ride height regulations, it really killed them. But
Yeah.
Mercedes kind of, I think got hold of the regulations a bit earlier, and they gave Ferrari a real fight for, third. Aston Martin fell off, and Mercedes even getting regular podiums by the end, right? Because I mean Perez was doing nothing, right? Or there's basically
Mm.
Max carrying Red Bull. So I mean there were two podium spots up in every race, and Mercedes, either Russell or Lewis, it was mostly Lewis last year, but
Yeah.
he was getting regular podiums. It looked as if the car was improving, and then suddenly this year, when every team, but Alpine, we don't talk about Alpine in this house, but but every team looks to have made progress, right? Like Red Bull obviously, has made progress, right? Whether it be small or big, I mean,
Yeah.
they're still winning races. Ferrari has made huge strides forward. McLaren has kept up their progress as well, right? They feared in testing that they might have gone backward at the beginning of last season, but they've kept up the progress. Um, Aston Martin did make progress, but I think everybody around them has improved some that they kind of left behind. But McLaren looks to have, no, sorry, not McLaren, Mercedes. They just seem to have gone backwards, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they can't do anything right. Like, I mean, you had what, a double DNF last race, right? With Mercedes?
Yeah.
Right,
Obviously, Russell's incident was pretty like eventful in the fact that Alonso got penalized and
right. Right.
uh
No, but even before that, right? Bahrain, they were fifth and seventh. I mean, sure, they were the third
yeah,
best team there. But Saudi, they were terrible. They were sixth and
sixth
ninth.
and ninth. Yeah.
Yeah, Australia was double
Double
DNF with
DNF.
winning it at the end. This, I mean, I'm loving it as a Ferrari fan. Don't get me wrong. I was fed up of seeing them dominate the sport for what 8 years, but you don't expect a team to drop off so far, right? Like if you look at the, you know, so we had Ferrari winning the early 2000s with Schumacher, then Alonso out of nowhere won two titles, but Ferrari is still
Hmm.
very close to best or second best, right?
Hmm.
We saw McLaren, with Lewis won a title, Kimi won a title again. Sorry, Kimi and then Lewis won a title. Braun had a freak show of a season for some reason.
Hmm.
But I mean,
That's when
that's
the
like a mis-
regulations change and they basically
yeah,
developed
I
the
mean,
car in
yeah,
2007 or
it's in
something.
the name. Like Braun is a genius. I mean, he's basically Adrian Newey of that era. But after that, even though Red Bull, won four titles on the trot, Ferrari and Mercedes is still pretty close, right?
Yeah. Ferrari and
And
McLaren.
Yeah, Ferrari and McLaren were still pretty close, and
Yeah.
then Lewis jumped to Mercedes because McLaren and Ron Dennis was a asshole. But then afterwards, Mercedes started their 8-year dominance. But even the 8 years, Ferrari and Red Bull are always close, right?
Yeah. Mm.
I mean, Mercedes did dominate a couple of seasons, right? But it was not
Ferrari and
like,
Red Bull were always there. I'm sure we had much
yeah,
better
they're always
racing in
kind of,
those 7 or 8 years than right now.
yeah. I mean, Mercedes did dominate, say, 2020, and I think 2016 was basically Mercedes
2016,
fighting on the
2014,
side.
basically they dominated, I would say.
Yeah, and 2020 also was kind of a walk. But
Yeah.
I mean, other teams are still close, right? I mean,
Other teams got
traditional
victories.
champions.
Max won
Yeah, Ferrari
races,
and Red
Daniel
Bull
won
are still
races, Seb
close.
won races.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, even 2019, Charles won races, right?
Yeah.
Vettel won Singapore. Yeah, Singapore is a wild card, but
Mhm.
now Mercedes just completely fallen off the map. Like the customer team is
Yeah.
giving them a lot of money.
I
Like
mean,
I don't
it
understand
reminds me of McLaren's fall off after 2012 when Lewis left and they just fell off.
right?
They
No, but
they
Lewis
had
right. But Lewis left because the team was already crap with it, right? Like
team
Ron
was
Dennis,
good. 2012 they had the second best car and they
oh, but
won they won
they
a
had
few races.
Spygate. I mean, they had Spygate. People are leaving the team because of that. A lot of the
Spygate
staff
was
left.
like long time back though. It was 2007.
Yeah, but I mean, it Spygate did affect the team, right? Like, and all of Ron Dennis's shenanigans
Spygate
kind
did
of.
affect the team, but Lewis's
Yeah,
main objective was to figure out the next big move before 2014.
right,
So
right. Yeah, yeah,
McLaren still had a good car. They had like 2012 as a foundation to build for 2013, which
right,
was still a part of the old regulations, but then they built a very shit car. And then
right,
they've been spiraling since then till the last couple of seasons when under Zach Brown now they've started coming back. So Mercedes is slowly heading towards a trajectory where they are becoming a midfield team. So that is something
Yeah,
which we have to keep a watch out for. And I'm
which
sure
is
Toto
very
Wolf also, yeah,
like I mean I would be like I mean let's say Mercy was second or third, you can write it off. Different teams win different regulations. I mean, Red Bull won this era; they were strong at the end of the last era, and 2021 they kind of pipped it at the home stretch. But you don't see teams fall off this badly, right? I mean,
yeah,
like
you
Mercedes
shouldn't.
had a long stretch of dominance, right? Even before Lewis, right? They had Schumacher and Rosberg who kind of developed the team. They had Ross Brawn. I mean, Ross Brawn, after Brawn GB basically became Mercedes, right? Ross Brawn stayed on as a consultant for a couple of
Nicky
seasons. He
Lauda
kind of,
was there.
yeah, Niki Lauda was there, Ross Brawn was there, Michael Schumacher was there, right? So it's not like they're ever. I mean, Schumacher was kind of, he was not as fast on the track, but he still gave a wealth of experience to Mercedes.
Hmm.
And by the time Lewis came, the team was all primed and ready to go, right? And they just kind of 2014 onwards, they just dominated the sport.
Yeah,
And it's very rare to see a team fall off so quickly.
yeah. So definitely there's
Yeah,
something wrong. You have people like James Allison and Toto Wolf, and
right. Yeah, I mean it's
at the
still from
helm.
the same
So
folks, right? So yeah, it's very surprising how they've fallen off.
James Vowles
And
as well. So
yeah, Valve left, right? Wait, to
Vowles is
Williams.
still there.
Wait, who's the guy who went to
Oh,
Williams? I
sorry,
thought it was
not James Vowles left, guys. He's Williams. Okay, I'm mixing up names. My bad. So
yeah,
they
yeah. Allison is
so
there, Bond is there.
yeah. So basically they still have James Allison, who returned to basically deliver this car.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, the other thing also, of course, there's going to be silly season, end of the season. We're going to see a lot of movement.
yeah.
I mean, especially if Max leaves Red Bull, it's going to be interesting where he lands up. But the other story that I want to quickly touch upon before we wrap up this preview is that um, I mean it's kind of an open secret at this point that Fernando Alonso is will leave Red Bull, right? Unless
You
Papa Stroll makes big offer.
you mean Reem Aston Martin?
Sorry, yeah, what is it? I'm sorry, leave Aston Martin.
You
Yes.
already put him in Red Bull and he already left. So
No, no.
yeah,
I mean,
that's how he jumps teams.
it's kind of an open secret that Alonso will leave Aston Martin end of the season, right? I mean, he seems unhappy. I mean, Aston Martin, they would be a well-run team if they didn't favor Lance Stroll that much, right? I
Hmm.
think, I think that kind of boiling over with Fernando, and he's even said in the press publicly that he's the only world champion who's a free agent, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then what rumor do we see this week, Aniket? About a certain rockstar engineer?
We see Sebastian Vettel, the four-time champion, give an interview to Sky Sports or some channel. I'm not sure which one was it. That he's
Yeah,
open to a return provided certain conditions are met, and he's got a
right.
list of basic things that should be ideal for him to rejoin a team.
Yeah, yeah,
So that begs the question: will Toto Wolff and Sebastian Vettel get in touch? Because there's a seat there which is vacant, which a German team might be
yeah,
interested in a German driver. So would
exactly.
that be attractive to Sebastian Vettel and Toto Wolff as well?
Right.
So that opens up another can of worms in terms of now you have another driver who's at least talking about a return to F1. So you have another one in the
Yeah.
mix along
And
with
also,
Carlos Fernando. Yeah,
yeah, but also talking about the rumor that Adrian Newey has been made an offer by Aston Martin. It'll be such a classic Alonso move that he leaves Aston Martin and they hire the best aerodynamic designer out there, the best car guy.
yeah. But it does seem then that the Red Bull saga is far from over because we're still getting these rumors out of different Red Bull, hierarchy members, or I would say the higher people in their hierarchy getting
Yeah,
offers
yeah,
from,
yeah.
or at least
I think,
reportedly
I
getting
think
offers from different teams.
right. I think definitely. Right? I mean, we've seen that. We have two sides, right? We have basically Honor on one side and the Thai family, and
Yeah,
we have not Joss, not that idiot, but who's the other guy?
Marco.
Helmet Marco. Marco, yeah. We have Marco and the rest of Red Bull Austria on one side,
Yeah.
and basically the Thai family is propping up. But I mean, you never know, right? I mean, a couple of more max retirements, and suddenly Christian Horner is not so favored anymore. Uh,
Hmm.
like people in F1 have short memories, so yeah, Red Bull. I think is going to be on a knife's edge all season long, and every team on the paddock is going to be a knife's edge all season long, waiting for news of Max Verstappen and what's going to happen with him. So
Yeah,
it really
I agree.
feels like we might see silly season go down to the wire, right? We may not see a resolution by summer break even. We'll probably go all the way to January of next year.
I wish we get things sorted out quickly because we want to talk about a lot of F1 stories on this channel. So it'll be good for
Right.
us if we keep getting news, unlike last week where there was nothing in the world of F1 to report on.
Yeah.
But
I
before
mean,
we close,
Carlos Sainz gave us a lot of news last week.
yeah, but before we close, let's hear the
Yeah.
top three for
Oh,
this
yes.
upcoming Japanese Grand Prix and any surprise candidates, which probably could come out, of the race. So you want to go
Right.
first, Pratyush?
Yeah. So, okay. I think my safe take is going to be that, Max P1, probably Sainz P2, or maybe Leclerc P2, and maybe, I don't know, Perez P3. But my hot take is going to be I'm going with Carlos Sainz again for P1. Max is probably a close P2 behind because let's be honest, Sainz is not winning the race by 35 seconds.
Yeah.
It's going to be a close, a very close P2 in Max behind. And I'm going to go for Fernando Alonso in P3.
Wow, that's a shout. I mean, Aston Martin out of nowhere.
Yes.
That's the surprise we want.
What about
So
you?
for me, I'll pick three constructors, the ones which we talked about. So
Yeah,
I'll say Max comes back. You know, he does not dominate, but he wins the race. I'll
right.
say Charles finishes P2. He gets the upper
Hmm.
hand on Carlos this race because it's never been
Ah,
that one of them has been,
right.
it has been better than the other for a few races in a row. So it's always been one race, one guy dominates, and the other race, the other guy dominates. So I'll say Charles gets the better of Carlos, and I'll pick Oscar Piastri for P3 because McLaren are definitely, or
Right.
they seem to have a good race in Japan, which they had last year. So
Yeah, yeah.
they are predicted to have another good race this time. So
Yeah,
that's
I
the
think,
top three for me. And I would say Lewis breaks the duck of those non P5 or top five finishes. So he's going to be in
yeah.
my top five this race.
I think rain would help him because he's definitely one of the
Yeah,
more seasoned rain drivers, right? I mean, he's been widely called the successor to Schumacher in the rain, right?
yeah, for sure.
Schumacher was a Meister, and I guess he's a Ragen successor. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But I think otherwise, yeah, I think we will see. I think we see three different teams on the podium unless
Hmm.
Checo pulls up his socks. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
going to be interesting. So yeah, all set for Suzuka.
Let's go. One of my favorite races on the calendar. It's good to see
Yeah,
it this early into the season.
yeah, definitely.
It's going to be an
All
early
right.
race, by the way.
Oh yes, very early. Yeah, so
Morning
guys,
race.
set your calendar, set whatever method you use to be reminded because it's going to be earlier than usual. So
Yep,
well, that's it from us this week. It's a short preview to Suzuka, and we will catch up with you right after the race next week, and hopefully we see a different winner again. Right,
yep,
Aniket?
yep.
All right.
So long
See
to
you
the
guys.
next one.